Welcome to episode 14 of the Practice Squad, a show where we talk about football and make the replacement refs look like pros. I'm your host and fourth string quarterback, Jeremy, joined each and every week by my co host and backup long snapper, Joseph. How's it going, man?
Can you say miracle in Miami?
You're darn right I can. So we're live right here on YouTube each and every week at 8:30 p.m. Pacific, right after Monday Night Football. If you're tired of the punditry or just want a fresh voice, come listen to a couple random dudes talk about football and have a good time. This week we've got a recap of our game of the week, lots of awesome discussions. We're going to talk about coaches and who's on the hot seat, who's not. And as always, we're going to end our show with our predictions. So there's a lot to cover, so let's go ahead and dive right in. Our first segment is our weekly recap. Game of the week was Ravens at Chiefs. I think was it the only overtime game of the week?
Oh,
If not, it was one of two, I think. So overtime game, close, exciting game. What were your overall thoughts?
I mean, even though the score was relatively low considering it's the Chiefs and there was overtime, it was exciting. Like it was a good back and forth, a lot of good drives. Um, Dude, Mahomes, man, he's definitely the MVP. I think after this week, I mean, Breeze had a pretty poor week. Um, Rivers was decent, but Gurley was bad, Goff was bad. So I feel like Mahomes is the clear MVP, and that throw towards the end of the game across his body to save it was just insane. His, the Chiefs' conversions on third and fourth down have to be some of the best in the NFL, and Mahomes is really good at that. So the Chiefs look like they're going to storm into the playoffs, and I really see them going to the Super Bowl this year.
Yeah, dude, I thought the throwing across the body thing was going to catch up to him. Like earlier this season when I saw him doing that a lot, I thought, "Oh man, that's a bad habit. He's getting away with it right now, but it's going to catch up." But he makes it work, and I haven't really seen him burned by it often at all. Um, so yeah, I think. How do you think losing Hunt has affected them? I mean, based on seeing it, yeah, their score was a little lower. I think part of that was because I know the Ravens' defense is decent. I, I didn't really feel like it affected them too much.
Yeah, I mean, War had Derek War or War, where Derek War,
Where? Yeah.
um, had a decent game, but and Mahomes' completion percentage was okay. I think it was in the mid 60s, but he threw for almost 400 yards. So um, didn't have to rely on the run game as much. But they still, I mean, him and Kelsey look great, and Tyreek Hill is amazing. He just made some really smart plays, man. There was that one catch where he got hit really hard. He bounced off
So,
the tackle.
Joseph, sorry, I'm going to cut you off for just a second. So I think we're having a little bit of an audio problem. I'm getting some feedback that you're a little bit too low. So I'm going to try to fix you in OBS real quick. Sorry. And by the way, if you can hear me at least, we've been having technical difficulties ramping up to this show all night. Weren't able to connect on Skype. We're on Google Hangouts right now, so please pardon our dust as we figure this out.
Is this any better?
No, I don't think the problem on the audio is on your end. I think it's on my end through OBS,
Okay.
which is the streaming software. So, um, let's see here. So OBS really wants to put you at zero volume, for some reason, and the little slider isn't letting me adjust at all. Let's see. Hmm. Go ahead and say something.
Hello, hello.
Okay, reply in chat if someone's there to if they whether or not they heard Joseph that just then. Because I can't, I obviously can hear him, but I don't know if you guys can hear him or not. I have a feeling you can't. Yeah, for some reason it's just locking the sound at 0 for you, and I don't know why it's doing that. So
I'm assuming that if I like hang up on the call and call you back,
no,
you
that's not
won't
going
have
to
that.
affect anything because it's the software. So let me I'm going to go ahead and end the stream. I'm going to restart OBS. We'll be back online in about a minute or so. So thank you for hanging with us this far. We'll be back online in about a minute. All right, everybody. I think we're back online. If you can hear both Joseph and I, give a shout out in chat.
Hello, hello. This is Joseph.
I'm going to also increase my volume a little bit as well. Let us know if that works for you, if it's a little bit too loud, too quiet. Joseph, go ahead and say something.
Hello, Dolphins won.
Okay. So I think I about doubled our volume on my end. So
you doubled the streaming volume?
yeah.
Okay.
For each of us. So okay, I'm not getting any feedback at the moment, so I'm going to go ahead and have us continue. If we get some more feedback that we're quiet, it sounds like the volume sliders got fixed by restarting OBS, so we can just keep increasing the volume until people can hear us well.
I have a comment saying, got it. I think that's good.
Got it. That's good. Okay. All right. Good. Okay, so back to our discussion about Ravens and Chiefs. You were in the middle of saying something.
Yeah, I was just saying that Mahomes looks like the clear MVP. He's had consistently great games. He's making clutch plays. I bet that his third down and fourth down conversion percentage is really high. If not the highest in the NFL. I would be shocked if it wasn't. And that throw across his body, that was total Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers into one, right? Throwing on the run, Aaron Rodgers, and then the gunslinger, dangerous throw, Brett Favre. But it was accurate, got a cannon, and man, Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are just really clicking with their chemistry with him. So I suspect the Chiefs are going to roll into the Super Bowl, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, if they can, I mean, pull off a win against the Ravens and just keep having this kind of success that they're having. Mahomes can keep putting up the numbers he has, all without Hunt. I mean, they've had, I think it's been 2 games without Hunt now, right? Because I think he got suspended, or not suspended. He got released. I think it was right before last week's game, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. That's what you asked me. You asked me
how they're doing without Hunt.
Yeah, and I said that basically they're clicking pretty well. Like Kelce stepped up, and Tyreek Hill had some great plays. Tyreek Hill is looking really strong, so you can definitely see it. But if Mahomes can still, oh yeah, it's not Derek Ware, Spencer Ware. If Mahomes can still go for almost 400 yards and play as well as he did, then they can just keep relying on him. I think, unless they run into a good pass rush, which I don't think there's a very good pass rush he's going to run into in the AFC playoffs.
In the AFC?
Yeah, for the playoffs.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, maybe the Texans.
Yeah, that's true.
But outside of that, not really. So let's switch gears and talk about the Ravens for just a second, because the Ravens are in an interesting position. I mean, their performance in this game was okay. Like, there wasn't anything, atrocious or really great. It felt like they just kind of did some things okay. 2 things I wanted to point out. Number one is, because the Steelers lost, the Ravens actually could still win the division technically, because they're only, I guess you could say, half a game behind the Steelers because of the tie. So the Steelers are 7-5-1 and the Ravens are 7-6. So if the Steelers keep losing and the Ravens win 1 or 2 more, then the Ravens could actually win the division, which is something that none of us were even talking about 4 or 5 weeks ago. So that's
or even last week.
right, or even last week. So that's interesting. But the other comment I was going to make is about Lamar Jackson. So Lamar Jackson was the main quarterback for this game. He was 13 for 24 with 147 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks, and then he also had 13 carries for 71 yards. So he carried some of the bulk of the offense on his shoulders. Um, those numbers and watching his performance, I feel like they can get by with him, and if teams can't figure out how to protect him on the ground, that might be enough this year to at least get him to the playoffs. But I don't think he's definitely not a long-term answer. I don't see a long-term answer in him. So the Ravens are going to have to invest in a quarterback at some point. And I don't know if it'll be next year or the year after. Depends on draft position, I suppose. But I think they're in a very touchy situation right now. And I think what was their, if you remember offhand, their remaining schedule, their last 3 games? Do you remember?
Yeah,
If not, it's okay.
they have Buccaneers, at Chargers, Browns,
Okay, so I think 2 of those are winnable.
and then I just checked the Steelers. So the Steelers can only win one more because they have that tie. So if they win 2 more, then they'll win the division. So the Steelers have
Assuming the Ravens only go 2-1.
true.
Yeah.
The Steelers have I just checked. I remember now. They have Patriots at home, so at Steelers. They have at Saints, and then they have Bengals.
Ooh, that's much rougher.
Yes.
So, okay, it's gonna come down to the last week probably, to be honest.
Yeah.
So, okay. Well, we'll see. We'll keep that playoff tracker going as we close in. We've only got 3 games left. So, speaking of playoff tracker, let's go ahead and move into our Dolphins talk for the week. Patriots at Dolphins. I want you, since this was such a special game and you're the Dolphins fan, I'm going to give it to you to talk about first.
Yeah. Oh man, this was so exciting. So usually I try to hold off on watching the Dolphin games, but it ends up failing, and I check the scores because I can't wait till 5 o'clock when Game Pass releases it. And if we lose, I still watch it. If we win, I get excited and I watch it later. But this is one where I kept checking the score, and it was, 28-27, and then we're down. Get the ball back with a few minutes, and then they score the field goal. And I was like, "There's no way. There's no way." I check like an hour or two later, and I first see that the Patriots had 33 points. I didn't scroll down. I figured, okay, there's no way we won. Scroll down, see the 34, lose my mind, go to YouTube, watch the highlights. They're already up. And wow, ended up watching the game tonight. Tannehill was very prolific. I mean, and efficient. He was 14 for 19 for, let's see here, 265 yards. That's amazing. I mean, that's almost 14 yards per pass attempt. It's even better for completion. 3 touchdowns, no picks, almost a perfect game actually. So it was great to see him. He had some long balls. He was tenacious out there. He was definitely very aggressive. The run game was good too. 21 carries for 189 yards. Brandon Bolden with an explosive run. Frank Gore was solid, 12 for 92. Kenyon Drake wasn't bad, but didn't do much running. But he had that amazing play at the end, which we'll get to. What's so crazy is, dude, we only had 40 offensive plays. 40. 19,
Yeah, that's low.
Yeah, 19 passes and 21 rushes. The Patriots had 73. So that's like 90% more, 80% more than we had. So it's just amazing that we were efficient in our scoring. The third quarter and fourth quarter were kind of slow until the end. But yeah, and then to that final play, I mean, what do you say? Kenyon Drake just
this is what I say. Rob Gronkowski is not a safety. That's what I say.
Yeah, but I'm glad he was. Kenyon Drake he just looked like he's just trying to survive. and then he kind of gets to the 35 and he sees a window and then he just goes for it and just full speed ahead. So it is true that Gronk is not a safety, but it makes sense why he was down there.
So I actually don't think it made sense, and
Well,
here's
so
why.
well, hold on. Let me. I want to give my partial. So it kind of does and it doesn't. So it does because if he's going to go deep, he can come up and try to catch the ball or knock the ball down. But it doesn't make sense because as much. The flip side is Tannehill's not going to throw the ball 70 yards.
Exactly.
Okay.
Because they were at the 30. So really, you drop back, you're at maybe like the 22, 23. You throw that it would have been a 77, 78-yard throw just to get it to the end zone, right? And he's not going to throw that far. So really, really you're talking about, if he threw a deep pass running, maybe at the 20 and then hope for yards after the catch or something, but that's already super risky because if you have that many guys around the ball, it's unlikely the guy's going to be able to get out of contain, right?
Sure. Tannehill, I'm sure if he's running up and throwing it, Tannehill could have gotten it to the 5-yard line if he really, really tried, but that would have been a stretch.
Maybe if his arm came with the ball,
right?
No, flying with the ball.
He can throw it 60-ish if he runs into it. He can. But most of these guys can. They really go for it. So it kind of makes sense to have Gronk down there, but maybe if they were like the 40 or 45, it would have made more sense. So they should have just had 3 guys on the pass rush, 8 defenders back, and just had another safety or something back there instead.
Yeah, that's what they should have done. That was a
but they didn't, and we had a great win, so I don't care.
Yeah. No, I'm just saying like that was a brain fart for Belichick, but it was a great win for you guys. I think I saw a stat that said that Brady is actually now 7-11 in Miami.
10.
Well, I think it was set. I heard the announcer say 7-10 during the game.
No, I checked before the game. It said he was 7-9. So maybe that one was wrong, but it said 7-9 on the one I read.
Okay, but regardless, he has a losing record in Miami, which is pretty amazing.
And he's 15-1 against them in Foxborough. And I think this might be. Did they say this was the only losing? I'm not sure, but it is an anomaly that he has that record against them. So.
Yeah, I don't. So I think this game made my point from last year all the more clear, which is you guys need to strengthen your lines, your O-line and your D-line. It just continues to be a problem, and I hope. I think I legitimately think if you guys can address your lines and your quarterback, that's like 3 or 4 more wins right there. Because I think you guys have the corners. Xavier Howard didn't even play yesterday.
Well, and think about it. Albert Wilson and Jakeem Grant have been out. And those guys were studs and playmakers in the first half of the season.
Right. Yeah, you guys definitely had some missing players for sure. So, first of all, it's embarrassing that running backs ever outrun corners. I don't understand how that ever happens. That happened yesterday. I don't remember the name of the running back for Miami. It's a guy that doesn't get many carries, and he got like a 53-yard touchdown.
Brandon Bolden.
Yeah, he just outran the corners. This is ridiculous. So yeah, we covered the awesome play for that game. It was amazing to watch. If you want to enjoy it even more, go online and find the clip of the Miami, I think it was the radio announcers.
Oh, yeah.
calling the play, because they start off super dejected and tired, ready to go home, monotone when the play starts, and then they just slowly work up their energy, and by the end of the call, they're just screaming and yelling and all this stuff, and they're not even telling the audience what's going on. They're just so excited about it.
But I warn you, don't listen with headphones, because I did that, and the volume is not well adjusted, and you will hurt your ears.
Well, by the end, you can't even understand what they're saying anyway, so it doesn't really matter. All right, let's go ahead and move into the next game, which is Broncos at 49ers. And this is only the second week of the season where both the Niners and Dolphins won on the same week. So I want to go ahead and talk about George Kittle. He, this guy, I feel like this guy can do everything. He's a tight end that can block. He's a great blocking tight end. He can get open. He's got legs. He can run really fast and outrun defenders. He can plow down guys. He has incredible yards after the catch, very sure hands. I mean, he's got everything. He's a very well-rounded tight end. This game, he sort of good news, bad news, record-wise. So he broke the franchise record for receiving yards by a tight end in season yards. He now has 1,103 yards on the season with 3 more games left, which is really good for a tight end. The bad news, though, is that he was 5 yards away from breaking the all-time single game record for a tight end, and they just didn't drop enough plays for him to get the record, so that kind of sucked. But he had a great day. I mean, 7 catches for, what was it, 210 yards?
Yeah.
He had a monster day. He was very quiet in the second half, but he had a monster day. So that was the by far and away the big good thing that came out of the game besides the win. The other one, no significant injuries, nothing that came out of the news today. So, I mean, I think this is the first game of the season that the Niners have not had some kind of significant injury off of a game. So
you're not playing second stringers from the practice squad?
Well, we are playing second stringers from the practice squad, but we just didn't get any of the second stringers injured, so that we now had to go to third stringers. That's basically what happened. So,
which is like Carson Palmer off the couch.
Right, exactly. So the D-line got pretty good pressure. They had a couple sacks, a lot of quarterback pressures, and we actually had some rookie safeties and corners who have had atrocious seasons come out and play with lots of fire. Our 5th round pick had DJ Reed had 12. He's a corner. He had 12 tackles, a sack, and 3 tackles for loss. So beat that with a stick. And then, so the bad, there wasn't a whole lot of bad, to be honest. A couple kind of sore thumbs. So dropped passes. There were a handful of dropped passes from guys that we really don't want to see dropping passes. Dante Pettis had a pretty bad one. Again, another game where they didn't get turnovers. And this is a stat you don't want to hear, so cover your ears if you're already sad about the Niners. No team has had fewer than 3 interceptions since 1950. The Niners right now have 2 interceptions on the season. So they need 1 interception just to tie that, and they'll set the record if they don't get another interception.
And they only played 14 games or 12 games back then. It was 12 or 14 back in the 50s.
Right, so it's even more pathetic. Thank you for making a pathetic stat even more pathetic, Joseph. I appreciate that.
Anytime.
So, Richie James can't return punts anymore. He fumbled another punt. You saw him fumble a punt last week, so he's just Mr. Fumble right now. He can't return punts anymore. And this game made me nervous. This was a game that should not have made me nervous, but it made me nervous. It was 13-0 at one point, and going into the second half, I think it was 20-7. Or was it 13-0 at half, and then I don't remember exactly what halftime was, but the Niners were up, had 20 points, and then they gave up 2 touchdowns, and it was like, okay, they could actually lose. Like, if the Broncos score another touchdown, they lose, and it was ridiculous to even think about that, given how the Niners were playing. They have trouble closing, and they did it this time, but I felt like they ran the ball too much in the fourth quarter, something I just hate teams doing when they need, like, all they need to do is just get a first down and get that, like, 2 minutes of extra clock. And they don't go for the first down. They just run the ball 3 times and punt the ball, assuming that, I don't know, their defense is going to take care of it, which we all know the Niners defense doesn't usually take care of it. So they needed to do more on offense. And I know if the Broncos had an even slightly more awake offense, they probably would have won yesterday. And that's the scary thing. So Shanahan's still learning how to close games. I get that. He doesn't have the players, really, the playmakers to do that well. He managed to do it yesterday, so kudos to him with this roster. But we need to be a little more aggressive in the fourth quarter. And that's another complaint going back to the Super Bowl with the Falcons, right, was that he wasn't aggressive enough at the end of the game against the Patriots. So he just needs to figure out, change his philosophy there. One last final thought, and this is funny, is they took a knee too early. So at the end of the game, they take, you take the knee a subsequent amount of times, a sequential amount of times to get, to run out the clock to end the game. And Nick Mullins, on one of the plays, he took the knee too early. So when they were at the fourth down, there were 4 seconds left on the clock. So they actually had to punt it to the Broncos and give them that chance to run one more play, which ironically happened right after the Dolphins had just beat the Patriots doing that. So I was nervous out of my mind that the Niners are about to lose a game because they knelt down 4 seconds too early. But luckily nothing happened.
We would not have had a podcast tonight if that happened.
No, I would have been more infuriated than any loss this season, which is saying a lot. So, okay, so that closes it out. Yeah, go ahead.
Would it have been worse than the playoff game against the Giants when that guy dropped 2 punts?
Oh, Kyle Williams? No, yeah. My level, no, because that moment was so much bigger. I mean, this would have just been like it. No, just no. The Kyle Williams multi fumbled punt night was. I am more heartbroken over that game than I am over any other sports game in history. For me. So yesterday did not, even if that had happened, it would not have risen to that level. Okay, so moving into our commentators say the darndest things segment. So I've got a few juicy ones for us this week.
I got one too. Maybe I'll start off.
Okay, yeah. Why don't you go ahead and start off?
So it's kind of paraphrasing. It's just a short one. It's just more ironic. So one of the announcers, with like 9 minutes left in the third quarter of the Patriots game, and he was trying to ice the ball. They're up 27-21, and the announcer says, Patriots are probably going to want to take the air out of the ball now. Get it?
Nice deflate gate joke. Nice.
Of course they want to take the air out of the ball.
Right. So in the pregame show on KNBR radio, they were talking about defense and the turnover issues with the Niners. And one of the guys said, "This is the era of stealing the football."
Oh my gosh. That sounds like John Gruden.
Then the next one from the game, the announcer said, "Going for it on fourth down sends 2 messages. To your O, it says, go get it. And to your D, it says, stop it if we don't make it."
It sounds like one of those like teeny bopper songs that like the 16-year-old girl sing.
Yeah.
That's like
a song entitled Cover All the Bases.
Dude, so here's the thing. This is why I'm glad I watched the condensed games. And the Dolphins announcers are usually pretty good, the guys who do that. But even though I miss out on the opportunity of getting in most of these, darndest things said, I also don't get to hear the really dumb things said that would drive me crazy. Because if I heard that, yeah, I'd put it in the show, but that would drive me nuts. Glad I watched the condensed.
I watch the full games for you, so I can suffer through these things. So the last one is, this isn't a quote. It was just sort of a situational discussion that I found funny. Was that the commentators were talking during the game? The Broncos were down 13-0, and they were trying to explain like this is why the Broncos are down 13-0, try to justify it because they're playing a 2-10 team, and you want to figure out, okay, why are they stuttering? And the commentators were talking about how the Broncos have a ton of injuries. And I was just sitting there thinking, excuse me? I was like the little kid in the back raising their hand saying, excuse me? Every 49er is injured. I don't think that's a valid justification for the way that they're performing right now. You guys are literally playing second and third string players at many positions. So any team, anybody that complains about injuries when they're playing the 49ers, they just need to hold our beer. I mean, it's just ridiculous. So moving on from that, our special discussion tonight is entitled Hot Seats. So we've actually got two topics tonight. We've got coaches on the hot seats, and then with the second discussion, we're going to be talking about Joseph has a pet peeve. So I'll tease it there. We'll get to that in a minute. But first, we're going to start off with hot seats. So there was an article by ESPN entitled Rating the Job Security of Every NFL Head Coach, Who's on Thin Ice. Okay, so they have a ranking system of hot seat, warm seat, lukewarm seat, cool seat, cold seat. So we're going to go ahead and start with the cold seats real quick. Just go through team by team. They go through team by team. And essentially what this is cold seat is the coach is totally safe. They don't need to worry about their job. And hot seat is the coach is totally in danger, may have already be out the door or going to be out the door at the end of the season. So starting with, he thinks the Tennessee Titans coach is on the cold seat. Do you agree with that?
Yes.
Yeah, I agree with that as well. Pete Carroll for the Seahawks, obviously on the cold seat. Kyle Shanahan for the Niners. I do think he's on the cold seat. They're in the middle of a rebuild. I don't see any turnaround here. I'm assuming you agree with that?
Yes.
Okay. Then Pittsburgh Steelers. So to be fair, this article was actually written 2 weeks ago. So since then, the Steelers have had two pretty disappointing losses. But Mike Tomlin, do you think he's on the cold seat?
Yeah, so in reference to this article, he was, but now I think he's cool or maybe even lukewarm. Like if they I think he's cool. So they go up one level, and if they miss the playoffs or underperform, I think it'll be on the warm. So this is a big
I think if they miss the playoffs, I agree. I think it's warm. I agree with that.
So right now, I'd say that they got bumped up to one level.
To cool?
Yeah.
Cool Mike Tomlin? Is that what we're going to call him now?
Okay.
Okay. Right. Philadelphia Eagles, Doug Peterson is on the cold seat.
Yeah, they won a Super Bowl. They're kind of picking it up. They have the piece. They're not going to fire a guy after 3 seasons and winning a Super Bowl, so they'll give him another year or two.
Yeah, I agree. I think I don't know if I'd put him on the cold seat. I think he might be on the cool seat for me, but just because I think if they miss the playoffs this year after going to the Super Bowl next year, that definitely will put him, I think, automatically on a lukewarm seat for next year. Like they're going to have to perform next year.
That's true. I agree.
Okay, Raiders, John Gruden, cold seat, duh. I mean, they just hired him, right?
Yeah.
So, New Orleans Saints, Sean Payton, cold seat. Obviously, they're dominating everybody this season. So
absolutely
there's
not.
No reason to
on the hot seat because they're going to win it all. If
they don't go 15-1, then he's getting fired. Bill Belichick has never been on the hot seat ever, so he's obviously on the cold seat. For the Patriots. The Rams, Sean McVay, very strong coach. No way. He's definitely on the cold seat. Chargers, Anthony Lynn's definitely on the cold seat. They're having a great season. Chiefs, Andy Reid, our walrus friend.
He loves the cold.
Yeah, he lives in the cold weather. He is from the North Pole. There's no seat he could be in other than the cold seat. Indianapolis Colts, Frank Reich. He was a new coach this year. After they let go, what was his name?
Polian.
No,
Chuck Pagano.
Chuck Pagano. That's right. After they let go Chuck Pagano last year, Frank Reich His Colts are on the rise. I think even if the Colts miss this year, I think
Oh,
he's fine
yeah.
because
They're fine.
I definitely see a turnaround there. So he's fine. He's definitely on the Colts seat. Houston Texans, Bill
Yeah.
O'Brien's doing just fine. No way, because they've pretty much got a guaranteed playoff berth this year. But interestingly though, do you think he's on the lukewarm seat if they lose in the first round? Not for this, not like he would be fired this year, but that the expectation pressure would be on him next year.
Yes, because they have their franchise quarterback, they have a solid pass rush, and they've picked up offensive weapons, and this is his 5th season. So yes, for next year.
Okay, I agree. Chicago Bears, Matt Nagy. Chicago, those guys, no, they're doing great. Buffalo Bills, Sean McDermott, who's 13 and I think now 13 and 16 over 2 seasons. So,
I'm gonna say cool.
Yeah, I'm gonna say cool on this too because I think he has to show next year that they can actually start building off of what they have, and they actually surprisingly are 4-7 this year. They have a better record than the Niners. I don't know how that happened. Oh wait, I know how that happened because all of us got injured. Okay, now moving on to cool seats. So the New York Giants' Pat Shurmur, who's a new coach, is on the cool seat. I don't know about that. I actually might have put him on the cold because I don't think it's a coaching issue over there.
Yeah, no. Rookie running back, old quarterback on the way out. Defense hasn't been like what it used to be. Yeah. So.
Yeah, when you have an elite top 10 of all time, just ultimate caliber quarterback like Eli Manning going out the door, you have to give this guy a little bit of grace. Okay, Carolina Panthers, Ron Rivera they're saying is on the cool seat.
No,
I think he's at least lukewarm, to be honest.
Yes, and when they lose to the Saints coming up, I think it's this week.
This is at Panthers, so if they lose at Panthers,
he's going to the warm, maybe even hot.
Yeah, I agree. And if he manages to keep his job this year, I think he's definitely out the door next year if they don't make the playoffs.
Yes.
Minnesota Vikings, Mike Zimmer. I don't know.
It's been a pretty bad year so far. I mean, they lost.
It has, but I don't know if is this a coaching issue though? I honestly haven't studied it enough to be honest. I don't know if it's a coaching issue.
No, their defense does not look as tenacious as they did last year. Heck, their defense doesn't even look as tenacious as they did when they played the Niners in week 1 or 2. I mean, honestly, the second half for the Vikings, it's like they've given up. I mean, Cousins is way less aggressive. I mean, Cousins was a top 5 MVP candidate for the first half of the season, and now he's not.
And he's just had a few bad games. I think there's just some ups and downs that go with that. Maybe Kirk Cousins isn't quite as good as we think he is. I mean, there's all kinds of things. I feel like they need another year of Kirk Cousins in this system to really be able to evaluate Zimmer. I think if they have another year like this year, he'll definitely be on the hot seat next year. But he's definitely not on the hot seat this year. I think cool makes sense. Okay, Detroit Lions, Matt Patricia, new coach. He's saying is on the cool seat.
That's fine.
That's fine. Falcons, Dan Quinn on the cool seat.
You know what? I think that's fine because they've just had some bad luck. Matt Ryan is playing well.
And some really close losses.
Yeah, close losses. They've had a brutal schedule. They've had a really tough schedule, close losses. Matt Ryan's playing well. Julio Jones is playing out of his mind. I think cool's fine. But if they miss the playoffs next year, he's on the warm seat.
Cool Dan Quinn. All right. Miami Dolphins. Okay, so now we're on lukewarm. Miami Dolphins, Adam Gase.
Well,
who pretty much is a 500 coach over 3 seasons.
Yeah, I mean, after this week, remember, it says here Adam Gase for
oh, sorry, is it Gase?
I think it is Gase, yeah. But it's for 5-6. Now they're 7-6.
Right. So they've won 2 big games, one against the Patriots this week, which was huge.
Yeah, you know what? I think almost no matter what, he's probably going to end up on the lukewarm, but he has an opportunity to end up on cool.
Yeah, I agree. I don't. There's absolutely no way that he's going to lose his job this season. I think
Yes.
how he ends the season though will determine whether or not he's on a total hot seat next year or if he's cool, right? Like if they can squeak into the playoffs, I think he's safe next year. I think if they don't make the playoffs, I think he's on the warm seat next year.
Or if they go 9, it's okay if they go 9-7 and miss out due to a tie break. But if they only win 7 or 8 games, then yeah.
Right. I think that the Miami situation is I don't want to see a coach go through the meat grinder because they can't figure out their quarterback situation again. I don't want to see that. Okay, Denver Broncos lukewarm seat Vance Joseph.
Yeah, I mean,
The loss to the Niners was pretty embarrassing.
So after they're 6-7,
which means they're not making the playoffs.
Yeah, they're out. But I don't think they were really. I mean,
they weren't really in it to begin with. They kind of won. They won. I think it was like 5 straight games or something like that. So they had a kind of a miraculous turnaround mid-season, but they weren't ever really in it to begin with. Again, I think the things holding them back are injuries and quarterback. So
yeah, I mean, this was written when they were 5-6, and they're lukewarm. So I think no matter what, it's going to stay lukewarm. But they better win at least 8 or 9 games next year.
Yeah, I agree. Okay, Washington Redskins. So now we're in the warm seats. Washington Redskins, Jay Gruden.
So I agree that he's there, but I feel like there should be a little bit of grace considering their first 2 string quarterbacks both broke their legs, and they're trying to start an old Adrian Peterson at running back.
Yeah, when you're one quarterback away from me playing as the 4th string quarterback, then yeah, I don't put too much on the coach. I actually they were having a pretty good season before Alex Smith got injured.
They were 6-2, and now
yeah. So I would put him at worst, I think, on lukewarm. So I disagree with that.
They're 6-7, so they've lost 5 in a row. I'm sorry, they've lost 4 in a row. They've lost 5 out of the last 6.
Yeah, but so much of that's due to quarterback. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think he's on the warm seat. Okay, Jacksonville Jaguars, Doug Marrone, warm seat.
False, hot seat.
Yes, I agree. Inexplicable, inexcusable season for the Jaguars this year. Just totally unacceptable.
Absolutely atrocious.
Yeah. Okay, Dallas Cowboys, Jason Garrett on the warm seat. I disagree with this because they've now won their last 2 games, right? So they're 8-5 now.
Actually, I think they've won their last 5 games in a row. Oh, I see.
Oh no, I mean like their record now is 2 since this article. So I think he's on at worst on the lukewarm, but I think he's on the. I think if they make the playoffs, if they win the division, I think he's on the cool seat.
If they win the division, he's on the. Yes.
Yeah, he can buy a lot of favor if they can just make the playoffs. Okay, and then Cincinnati Bengals, Marvin Lewis.
No, hot seat. He's on the hot seat.
Yeah, I agree. The Bengals need to seriously figure out what's going on.
He has been, even when they went to the playoffs, he was always on the warm seat. Dude, he has been like on the
yeah, he has been on the warm seat for the entire time he's been a coach.
Yeah, I mean Andy Reid lives in the North Pole, and like Marvin Lewis is like in the Amazon, and he's been there for over a decade.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, hot seat for sure. Okay, Baltimore Ravens, John Harbaugh. We already know he's out, so that doesn't really matter. Arizona Cardinals, warm seat, Steve Wilks, who's a new coach. I don't think so.
Why is he's the only new coach that's getting ringed here? I don't understand.
He needs time. Obviously, Josh Rosen needs some time to develop. Like, you got a rookie quarterback. You're like gonna basically be starting a complete rebuild on offense pretty soon here with Larry Fitzgerald out the door soon. Defense is getting pretty old, has some pieces still, but needs work. So I think they're just sort of in a transition period. And so I think he's on the cool seat at worst. Okay, now on the hot seat, our last three teams before we wrap up: Tampa Bay Bucks,
Yes.
Dirk Coder, hot seat.
Yeah, that was.
He's gone. He might just be gone. Honestly, if they at the end of this year, no matter what,
They might throw him and
because he's been the coach there for 3 years.
Yeah,
The Bucks were the Bucks last year, like going into this year, they were supposed to be good. They were supposed to be good, and they have found ways to just flounder around 500 or a little under. So yeah, no, I think he's just gone at the end of the year, no matter what. New York Jets, Todd Bowles, hot seat.
So I'm not opposed to it. I feel like that a warm seat might be more acceptable, though. So it's not a bad call. It's just, did you really think Darnold was going to come in and win you 5 games? Darnold has not been playing very well. Honestly, his best 2-3 games were his first 2 or 3 games.
Yeah.
So,
yep.
What are you going to blame everything on your coach when your rookie quarterback is playing bad? So,
and also when you have a pretty putrid roster too.
Yeah, I mean, I don't even know who their running back is. They don't have a great defense. So it's not that I'm opposed to a hot seat, it's just that a warm seat's probably a better call.
Yeah, if anything, I think maybe their GM might get fired.
Yeah,
I don't think Todd Bowles. Yeah, I don't think Todd Bowles. I think we can give him another year, see if he can make something next year. If he can't do something next year though, because he is to be fair 23-36 over 4 seasons. That's pretty bad. So I think you give him one more year and then he's out the door next year if he can't make something happen.
Yeah, I mean they also have had quarterback issues. But honestly, Jets have just been they've been kind of a laughing stock for most of the past 10 years, and I think that's more at the GM level than the coaching level.
Yeah, they've been totally bereft of talent for a while. So yeah. Well, actually, no, that's not fair. They had that 1 year. Was it the
2010
Fitzgerald? No, it was the Fitzgerald plus really good D line year where they went 10-6.
2014, 2015.
Yeah, I think it was 15, or was it 16? I think it might have been 16. But anyway, they had that one random good year, and then outside of that, they've been garbage for years. So, okay, and then the last one is, sorry for lack of climax, is Green Bay Packers Mike McCarthy, who's already been fired. So that proves how hot of a seat he was on.
The question is he going to be hired by someone else this year?
I think he could be. For some of these teams that are going to be guaranteed firings, I think he could be. I mean, he's done too much good stuff with them to not be picked up. He's 125, 76, and 2 over 13 seasons. How can you not hire him for something?
Yeah, and I can't really blame him too much when Rodgers did have some poor games, and they just have not had a run game or a defense in years. So you can kind of share the blame, maybe like 70% McCarthy, but at most. So it wasn't a complete bad coaching job, in my opinion. It was not.
Right. Okay, so that clears it up for the hot or not seats. So Joseph, you have a pet peeve. Tell us about your pet peeve.
I really don't like when referees make calls that, in hindsight, with the great technology of replay and so forth, are questionable calls or even worse, bad calls. And due to this, in my opinion, very arbitrary criteria of having indisputable evidence, cannot overturn them. Even worse, the fact that coach that uses a challenge flag, that at best they just don't lose a timeout, and they almost get punished for winning a challenge because the refs have to overturn the call. So last week, we didn't get a chance to do it last week. In 2 games, this happened really bad. So the first instance I'll talk about was the Vikings-Patriots game. And it was 4th and 1, and the Vikings had the ball. And, guy runs it up the middle, gets tackled, and they said that he had the first down. They show the replay, and it's just plainly obvious that he didn't get it. He did not get the first down. And the announcers are kind of like wavering, and they ended up, not overturning the call. So even though there wasn't a challenge, I don't think there was a challenge there. I think that was just reviewable. The fact that they couldn't look at that and say, this is a bad call, we're wrong. There's this weird arbitrary stance of, well, we have to find indisputable evidence to overturn the first call. Well, how about just figure out what the call is in the first place? Ignore what the refs did, right? Because they obviously questioning their call in the first place. So it's arbitrary to make that baseline valid. And then use the technology and the multiple refs looking at the replays to figure out what the real call is. It's the same data. It's the same real-life event. You're not overturning anything that's real because someone said this is good beforehand. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to ask, did they conference about it at least? Like, was there a stoppage for them to talk about it?
Well, there was a review. Like, I can't remember if it was a New York review. Oh, I can't remember. Or if it was, I don't think it was a challenge. Wait, Vikings, Patriots. Well, if it was the Patriots, maybe it was a challenge because Belichick always does that. Regardless, I saw the replays multiple times, and they did not overturn the original call. And it took a while for them to look over it. The real travesty, though, was the Saints. Oh my gosh, they played the Cowboys, right? Was that?
The Saints played the Cowboys on Thursday.
Yeah. So the real travesty was the Saints-Cowboys, which they ended up losing. So the first incident, Brees throws a ball to Michael Thomas, and he makes a play that it's a close call. They called it an incomplete pass. When you watch the replay, you could have called it a catch. Like, it was very close. Now, I will. This one is where I'm going to have to simmer down a little bit. I am okay with them not overturning it. But just think about it. If they had called it a catch, it would have been just as difficult to overturn it that way. So it all becomes contingent on the baseline call, which if it's a bad call, then it doesn't matter. So that was kind of frustrating because even though it was hard to overturn, it all depends on what the original call was. So they lost the challenge there, so they lost the timeout. Where it gets really bad, though, is later on in the game. Drew Brees throws a ball to his tight end near the end zone. Guy makes a clear catch. It is obvious he made a catch. Sees the ball, turns upfield, he makes a move, and then he gets hit, and the ball gets knocked out of bounds. And they called it an incomplete. They called it an incompletion. So then he throws his second challenge flag. And I'm thinking, okay, this is just obvious. I think even the announcers were like, oh, yeah, it's a catch. He turns upfield. They upheld the call. You have to be blind to have said that was an incomplete pass, incomplete catch. And they did. And I'm just so frustrated with how people cannot look at physics or the data and say,
yeah, okay. So
this is
I think that. So I think one of the problems when we watch these games and we have the commentators talking about it and we have our own opinions is that, and this is part of the disadvantage that we're at as audience members, is that we don't know. We see a variety of different replays because it's to the benefit of the producing, right, to show all the different plays, the different camera angles. But we don't actually know what camera angles the refs are using. And
no, I think they're using the same ones.
Well, but here's the thing, though. Sometimes the guy will go to the TV and he'll be there for 20 seconds maybe, and then we'll walk away and give the call. And I already know in certain situations, based on that much time, that he did not watch all of the angles that we watched while we were sitting there on the TV. So I don't know what angles they watch. I also don't know what kind of communication they have with the New York hub, because I think the New York hub is supposed to be guiding them in what calls are correct or not. And I don't feel like that system's been working out very well. I mean, there's just time and time again, there's problems. And I think the issue is it's just a matter of statistics. It's not getting better. We're not getting, year to year, we're not getting a decreased percentage of bad calls. We're not. It's at best it's staying the same. So something systemically is broken and needs to be fixed. And I agree with you that the challenge situation really shouldn't be 2 challenges, and then if you get both of them right, then you get a third one. It should be, if you get your first one right, you get it refilled. And if you get, so every time you get a challenge right, you just get it refilled. And then if you get 2 wrong, then you're done.
Yeah, because if you,
because you shouldn't be, you should be rewarded for pointing out, or at a minimum, just stay where you are for pointing out that they did something wrong. Because what if later in the game there's 2 more bad calls, but you only have 1 challenge, right? Because you already used a challenge on a bad call previous. Now, I know that doesn't happen often, and probably because coaches know they only have 2 challenges to begin with. But what if that did happen? Then you don't have the ability to challenge because you used one already.
Yeah, and I don't see how exactly. I mean, if Sean Payton won that second challenge, like, he still would have been out of challenges, and then the ball would have been near the end zone where it should have been in the first place because it was a bad call. So it's not like he really won anything.
Exactly. So
we can end there.
Yeah, no, that's a great discussion. There's lots of different rule issues. I was actually going to mention earlier, we're not going to have time to discuss it now, but I was going to mention earlier, running into the kicker might be the most garbage subjective call in the game. It happened.
Especially when they sell it. When they sell it really well.
Yeah, when they sell it and there's obvious incidental contact. Like, I just don't understand. Going back to the physics thing, we get these 270-pound guys flying 100 miles an hour, and they're just expected to turn on a dime instantly. Like, I don't get it. There has to be some grace for the fact that these guys have momentum. Okay, so moving into our final segment of the night, our predictions. Thanks for staying with us, by the way, for going just a little bit overtime tonight as we dealt with some technical issues. Thank you so much. It's always a challenge getting this to work, and we appreciate you guys being patient with us. So our final segment, predictions. My record as of this week is 129, 78, and 2. I was 9-7 this week, so I had a pretty poor week. I'm at 62% accuracy. Joseph is still 2 games behind me as we split. We had 4 games that we differed on last week, and we split on 2 of them, so he's still 2 games back at 127, 80, and 2. He was also 9-7 this week and is at 61%. All right, so let's go ahead and move into our game-by-game predictions for our for next week. So the first game is, and I'll go ahead and lead off. The first game is Chargers at Chiefs. I'm picking Chiefs.
Same.
All right, next game, Texans at Jets.
Texans.
Same. Browns at Broncos. I'm going Broncos.
Same, but that's a tough one.
It is a tough one, especially after this week. Cardinals at Falcons.
Falcons.
Same. Lions at Bills. I'm going Lions.
So I switched this one. This is really tough. I'm going Bills.
Really tough. You're going Bills?
I switched it from Lions earlier.
Yeah, but I think it's basically a 50-50. Packers at Bears. I'm going Bears.
Same.
Raiders at Bengals.
Also really tough.
Yeah.
But I'm going Raiders.
Okay, I'm going Bengals, but I can understand that one. Cowboys at Colts. I'm going Colts.
Same, and also really tough.
Yeah, very tough. Titans at Giants.
I really hate to sound cliche, but this is also very tough.
It is.
Titans.
I'm going Giants. Okay.
Oh, surprising.
Yeah. I waffled on that one too. Dolphins at Vikings. A game that just became even more tough tonight after watching their putrid performance in Seattle. So Dolphins at Vikings, you're going...
I'm going Dolphins.
Okay, I'm going Vikings.
Oh, we're already at 4 games already.
Yeah. Bucks at Ravens, I'm going Ravens.
Same.
Redskins at Jaguars.
Boo. Least game of the week. Jaguars.
Same. And then Seahawks at Niners, I'm going Seahawks.
Same.
Patriots at Steelers.
Steelers.
Same. Although I'm also iffy on that one. Eagles at Rams.
Rams.
Same. And then Saints at Panthers. I'm going Panthers.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah, I gotta pull something out of my hat here because I have a feeling next week's gonna be pretty bad.
Yeah, it is. We different on 5.
Yeah, so we differed on Lions at Bills, Raiders at Bengals, Titans at Giants, Dolphins at Vikings, and Saints at Panthers. So we'll see. You have a chance to catch up and pass me next week if all goes well. So my game to watch of the week is Saints at Panthers.
Oh,
there's
man.
two. So there's two. I felt like there were, was it 2 games or 3? No, there were 2 other games that I thought were legit contenders. One of them was Chargers at Chiefs, and the other one was Patriots at Steelers.
Yeah, so the Pats at Steelers one lost a little bit because of what happened. So now the Steelers don't really have a chance to get that 2 seed. This game was looking like that could have played in that. I understand the Saints-Panthers game, but I don't think it beats the Chargers-Chiefs. And honestly, I don't think we've given the Chargers any love with games of the year.
I don't think we've had a Chargers game yet. So I'm fine with doing Chargers at Chiefs. I'm okay with that.
They're 10-3, and if they win, I mean, we're talking possible win the division.
Possibly. It'll be hard. They'd have to get some luck with Kansas City losing, but yeah, that could happen.
So I'd like to show the Chargers some love.
Okay, yeah, let's do Chargers at Chiefs. So watch Chargers at Chiefs with us, and we'll be talking about it next week. All right, guys, thanks so much again for being patient with us. That's a wrap for tonight's episode. If you enjoyed tonight's episode or any of our past episodes, please like, share, and subscribe here on YouTube, as those are free ways for you to support our show. Don't forget to follow us on Twitter at The Practice Squad and at Neuralizer_. Just as a reminder, if you've missed past episodes, you can watch or listen to them right here on my YouTube channel. I typically upload on Tuesday evenings, the day after we go live. As always, thanks so much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Go Dolphins.